Good evening, everybody. I'm now doing part 2 of Ranter's News of the Day, and let's start out with a little tidbit item of Kristen Gillibrand has dropped out of the presidential race. And my opinions on that? Good. Point 1, she should maintain her seat in the Senate. We need Democrats there. So, there's no shame in going out of the presidential and then but still serving your country as a senator. And number 2, I still have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth over her making her national name out of not only sacrificing Al Franken to the altar of the higher ground around the time that Roy Moore was running for Senate, and on the other, how she made her career with the Clintons, taking over Hillary's seat after Hillary stepped down. And then all of a sudden, when it became her time to shine, she abandoned them. Now, whether you like the Clintons or not, that's fine. But even if it wasn't the Clintons, if it was somebody else, if it was a Republican doing it to a Republican main name that they were getting support from, that's a little bit, what would be the proper word? Classless, let's say. But, with that aside, I hope she maintains the run as Senate and she wins the Senate so we can keep her in the D for that state there. So, good luck to her on that if she's going to do that. And she did try. Anyway. So what else is going on in the news that our chosen one, second coming of God and King of Israel, has been doing lately? Oh, he's been whining about Fox News. And now Fox News, whose personality side was all over Trump, but now the news side that has some shred of integrity to them is showing honest polls from Fox News showing that President Trump is not doing so well against Democrats. And not just any named Democrat, all Democrats. In one poll, he would lose to insert name here Democrat by 46% to that nameless Democrat at 52%. That's pretty amazing. But Trump don't like that. So, in his greatest form of communication known to man, his tweets, Trump says, "I don't want to win for myself, I want to win for the people. The new Fox News is letting millions of great people down. We have to start looking for new news outlets. Fox isn't working for us anymore." Further, he called Fox News clueless and hopeless in tweets, adding, "We have to start looking for a new news outlet. Fox isn't working for us." Brett Hume, who is a veteran employee of Fox, shut down Trump's declaration in a tweet of his own. "Fox News isn't supposed to work for you," he wrote while retweeting Trump's comments. Here's the interesting thing. A couple weeks ago, Trump was having problems with the polls too, and he was starting to hem and haw about how Fox News was putting out these polls saying that he wasn't doing so well. And of course he blamed Fox News for that and blamed that they hired Democrats and they're doing this and doing that. So now he's all pouting because of this. And what, Tucker on vacation, and Judge Pirio is no longer has a show. All he has left there is what? Hannity to make him feel better about himself. In any event, good for the news function of Fox News to stand up for themselves and show their polls out and not try to skew it. Now, I'm not giving Fox News like a complete and total pass, they are the right-leaning news, as MSN is the left-leaning news. I wouldn't expect anyone who is conservative to see something beneficial being said, that's truthful being said on MSN, and they can acknowledge it, but also still see that their personality segments and so forth is left askewed, and they can acknowledge that. That's called being an adult. But evidently, President Manchild does not have the capacity of being an adult. Good for you, people who voted for him. So yeah, there's that little whining tidbit. Pardon-moi. Time in. Alright. So that was entertaining. The next bit of news to get into is, to continue Trump's vague stance on eliminating birthright citizenship. Not only is Trump going to attempt to do this to children that are born here from migrants who cross the border, he's now going after the children of our servicemen and women. Some children of the U.S. troops born overseas will no longer get automatic American citizenship, Trump administration says. This is from taskandpurpose.com. Some children born to U.S. service members and government employees overseas will no longer be automatically considered citizens of the United States, according to a policy alert issued by U.S. Citizens and Immigration Services on Wednesday. Previously, all children born to U.S. citizen parents were considered to be residents in the United States and therefore would be automatically granted citizenship under the Immigration and Naturalization Act 320. Now, children born to the U.S. servicemen and government employees who are not yet themselves U.S. citizens while abroad will not be considered as residents in the U.S., changing the way that they potentially receive citizenship. Children who are not U.S. citizens and are adopted by U.S. service members while living abroad will no longer receive automatic citizenship by living with U.S. citizen adopted parents. The change was first reported by San Francisco Chronicle reporter Ty Copan. Quote, the policy change explains that we will not consider children who live abroad with their parents to be residents residing in the United States, even if their parents are U.S. government employees or U.S. service members stationed outside the U.S., and as a result, these children will no longer be considered to have acquired citizenship automatically. Quote, unquote, says the spokesman Meredith Parker, originally told Task and Purpose on Wednesday. When asked how the policy change how government views children in the U.S. service members. Quote, for them to obtain a certificate of citizenship, their U.S. citizen parents must apply for citizenship on their behalf. She added, process under INA 322 must be complete before the child's 18th birthday. It takes that long to do that? Alright. According to the USCIS, previous legislation also explicitly says that spouses of service members who are living outside the U.S. because of their spouses were considered residents of the U.S., but that no similar positions were included for children of U.S. Armed Forces members in the acquisition of citizenship text in significant. So, what do we glean from this? We glean that apparently you go out and you serve your country, you defend your life, you defend your flag, you defend your fellow countrymen, you get yourself stationed overseas, you find someone that you're attracted to, you fall in love, you have a child, you're perhaps married, you come back home from your service with family in tow, and your child is not an American citizen. And you're going to have to go through the whole rigmarole to make them a U.S. citizen now. How do y'all feel about that? My friends and acquaintances who are connected with the military and or connected to the government apparatus. Is that an idea to you? that you could serve your country and have a child and find out that that child cannot be considered a U.S. citizen, and you have to go through a citizenship apparatus in order to establish what was already established beforehand. I don't know, this sounds like another one of those things. And again, I wonder that if there's a U.S. serviceman, man or woman, stationed, I don't know, in Northern Europe, in Norway, would they have the same problem if they came back with a Norwegian wife or husband and a Norwegian American child? Will they see that white face and blonde hair and piercing blue eyes and go, well, it looks like an American to me. Thank you, Stephen Miller. I don't know, just a thought. Now, well, Tropical Storm Dorian has now become Hurricane Dorian and is either side-swiping or hitting Puerto Rico. We have mentioned this in the last video, but Trump continues to slam Puerto Rico. Slam it for its corrupted government, for its corrupted leaders. Now, it was always in bad shape, in that Trump had billions of dollars being sent there. But one problem with that is the billions of dollars that he was sending, as I said last time, is about less by 50 billion. So I don't know why he keeps bringing out this fake number that can easily be fact-checked. But, you know, we have to be hero, I guess. I don't know, guys. It's all of this. You think that things are not going to get any worse. You think things are not going to get any worse. And then it just gets worse. And then you find out things like, oh, I don't know, Trump telling his aides that he wants to fast-track his wall before the election so badly that if they go and illegally take land away from ranchers and farmers along the borderline from Texas to Florida, that he says, go ahead and take it. Even though it's illegal, I'll pardon you. He'll pardon them. Do you want this wall that badly that you will take land from American citizens? Are you on board with this, my gentle snowflakes, from the right and to the left? You know, intimate domain is something that generally gets fought for, especially by conservatives. They want to make sure everyone has their individual space, their privacy, their private land. They certainly want it for themselves, and will usually fight patriotically, right or wrong, against whoever is trying to infringe on that. You know, when it's liberals doing it, oh, that's fine, let's go after them for daring, right or wrong. But this one, this President Trump, he suggests that he can, that his aides can go ahead and grab some land, legal or not legal, and he'll pardon them later. That's okay with you? Because for you diehard conservatives who want to protect the individual right, it's all quiet on the Southern Front, isn't it? Which goes back to, you know, how many of the values of being a traditional conservative Republican is negotiable? What used to be so ironclad back in the 90s, back in the 2000s, when you defended Bush and you were hounding against Clinton, and the 2000s when you went up against Obama, and all those things, all those ironclad values, just negotiable. when you have a Trump on your side? Family values? Whatever. Either you whatever Trump's own history on that, or you just make excuses for him. Religious values? Again, forget that. That's negotiable. Some of you, I don't know how you do it, how you make this mental twister game out of your own religious beliefs, but for the past over 2 years, in order to justify and double down on your defense of this plutocratic hedonist who has no thought of God whatsoever in his life, that 2 Corinthians are walking into a bar, that you deify him. I mean, how many pastors have we seen article after article, liking him to the second coming? Again, second coming of God, isn't it? The second coming of Christ. There was a pastor who went on Fox News a year and a half or maybe 2 years ago, was comparing Christ and Trump, and says, you know what, this day and age we might not need a Christ, but we need a Trump. Who are you a believer of? Really? It's because temporal power, it seems to be more important than divine power, or at least to honor your God. But again, it's just what you believe in. What are the stances that you believe in? I mean, if Trump came out and decided to revamp his revelation that he is actually pro-choice instead of pro-life, would you follow him through that because of the power that his Trump base has? I mean, you seem to gloss over and forgive the fact that he tried to beg his mistress to abort the child, which that child became Tiffany Trump. But that's back there, and that no longer matters. I think everyone deserves a mulligan. Guys and gals, come on. Come on. Let's see. What else is in the news? The Federal Election Commission no longer has enough members for campaign finance enforcement. The Vice Chairman of the Federal Election Commission submitted his resignation, I can't even say the word, to President Trump, leaving the agency without a necessary number of commissioners to vote on proposed actions or provide enforcement ahead of 2020. Grand! So, any little money mishap that could be coming in from any source, they don't have enough people to investigate it. I'm sure no one will take advantage of that. No one will take advantage of that. Certainly nobody orange. Here's an interesting one. Boris Johnson had asked the Queen to suspend Parliament so he can fast-track Brexit without the no vote, and she actually is going along with it. So by her recommendation, they're going to try to shut down the Parliament so that they can bypass the resistance there is for Brexit. People, I don't know what would be. This is, once again, like I said last time, it feels like we're all reading this book and we can't get out of this book. We're seeing this cliffhanger come to the end and we can't change it. We can't change the story. So we're just going to have to ride along until the story ends, and then we're going to have to deal with the aftermath of it. Pardonnez-moi. One momento. Alright. A couple videos ago I talked about how the Trump administration was not going to do any vaccinations for migrants at the detention centers at the border for this flu season. Well, I think that was bad. It turns out that they want to eject children being detained who are suffering far more worse ailments. Trump administration wants to eject children who are medically vulnerable, immigrant children. Give me a moment. Kind of took down my mood a bit. Okay, time in. Trump. This is from Blog for Arizona. Trump administration ends medical deferred action to deport sick children to their deaths. Well, that's a unbiased line. As Adam Seward said, cruelty is the point. The Trump administration has reached new depths of depravity. There's a Russian expression for this. We thought we had hit rock bottom, then someone knocked from down below. Okay. When you already separated families, thrown children in cages, and held them in conditions that could be compared to torture facilities, it is a bit of a challenge to come up with the next act. Evil takes creativity, and once you forced migrant kids to go through weeks without a shower or change of clothes and fed them expired food, it's tough to continue nailing those Hitler comparisons. Somehow, though, Trump administration always rises to the occasion. Immigrant advocates in Boston say federal authorities are unfairly ordering foreign-born children granted special immigration status for medical treatment to return to their countries. The Irish International Immigrant Center says it's aware that at least 5 local families have received notices this month to leave the U.S. within 33 days. The families have medical deferred action, which enables them to receive government-funded health care and work illegally while their children receive medical treatment. Advocates say similar notices have been recently issued in California, North Carolina, and other states. The new policy is reportedly a major departure from the long-standing legal practice for decades. The federal government has used it to exercise discretion where a little humanity is warranted, like when a child is critically ill and will die if ordered to leave the country. Unfortunately, such children, humanity is not part of the Trump administration's agenda. You just know that Stephen Miller is behind us. Per the Boston Globe, considering the case of Maria and her 13-year-old son, they were visiting Boston in 2013 when the boy fell ill. He was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia, a genetic condition for which he's been treated at Boston Medical Center. She filed for medical deferred action almost immediately, and they were approved in 2017. The status valid for 2 years meant she could get a work permit and would be granted mass health and afford access to life-saving care. She is required to bring him to the BMC for monitoring every 2 months. Otherwise, the acute problems might arise and they can result in brain damage or kidney failure, she says. Last week, Marie got a denial letter from the U.S. Citizens and Immigration Services after filing for a renewal. They were instructed to leave within 33 days or else risk deportation. I can't go back to Haiti, Maria said in an interview on Monday organized by local immigrant advocates. I won't find this medical care for him there. According to Masha Kababa, pardon if I butcher the last name, chair of the New England chapter of American Immigrant Lawyers Association, the exact number of immigrants potentially affected by this change is unclear, but estimated to be in the thousands, including children with cystic fibrosis, leukemia, and muscular dystrophy. This is a new low, says Senator Ed Markey to the Associated Press. Donald Trump is literally deporting kids with cancer. Times Magazine, AP report. Trump administration ends protection that lets migrants avoid deportation while receiving medical care. Ends protection, excuse me. The Trump administration has eliminated a protection that lets immigrants remain in the country and avoid deportation while they or their relatives receive life-saving medical treatments or endure other harsh hardships, immigration officials say in letters issued to families this month. Maria Sanchez, a native of Honduras who recently applied for special exemption, said it now would amount to death sentence for her 16-year-old son, Jonathan, who suffers from cystic fibrosis. They are among the many families who settled in Boston to seek care at some of the nation's top hospitals. Sanchez, who arrived in the U.S. with her family in 2016, said she lost a daughter to the same disease years ago after doctors in her home country failed to diagnose it. The disease, which is hereditary, affects the lungs and digestive systems and has no cure. He would be dead if the family had remained in Honduras, she said of her son. I have panic attacks over this every day. In Boston alone, the decision could affect about 20 families with children fighting cancer, HIV, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, and other serious conditions, said Anthony Marino, head of the Immigration Legal Services at the Irish and International Immigration Center, which represents the families. Advocates say similar letters from citizens and immigration services has been issued to immigrants in California, North Carolina, and elsewhere. I asked this multiple times because I really want to know, where's our humanity? Where is the United States of America that we grew up with? Where did it go? You know, I used to laugh at people who whined and cried during the town halls before 2010, talking about they lost their country because Obama was president. And I always said, you know what? Your country didn't go anywhere. Nothing was happening. But I am having trouble not saying the same thing now about this particular issue. You know, anything involving, anything involving Trump and all the lunacy that goes with that, you know, that's all terrible, but the majority of it is him trying to distract you from shit like this. Because I guarantee you, while he's crying about the squad and saying his dog whistle racist bullshit in order to get your attention, to get you pissed off about that, have the news circle around that, you don't notice this shit is happening right here. Ejecting children from our country who are medically vulnerable. Does that make you feel good, you defenders of him? You people who want him to build his Lego wall? You know, you couple that with his derision and disdain for Puerto Rico, lying about how much money sent to Puerto Rico, while claiming he's the best thing that ever fucking happened to Puerto Rico, while at the same time we finding out that $270 million has been stripped from disaster relief from FEMA so it can be sent down to the border to help with his immigration practice. He keeps saying that they've been building the wall, they're building all sorts of wall, don't believe the hype, don't believe the fake news, he's building all this wall. He hasn't built shit. And the only thing that has been under construction, that has been built, was reinforcements of 66 miles of wall that already existed. So he's taking money out of FEMA, out of the disaster relief. He's taking money out of the Pentagon. Some of it I heard in an article that he's taking it out of their veterans funds So that's great for all you armed forces folk that are, again, defending your lives, maybe on post elsewhere in the world and having a family, and your child is just not going to be an American. But now, who knows, when 20, 30 years down the line, when you finally retire with full honors, you find it a little less in the purse because someone wanted to build a Lego wall with your money. Couldn't get Congress to do it. They tried to emergency order it, and they can only get so much. And so they're just, raiding whatever cookie jars they can for it. I've said this in a previous video, that this upcoming election is the Democrats to lose. Because there's no amount of genius, nothing that Trump is doing that is going to increase his vote count from the base that would already stand by him if he shot someone on Fifth Avenue. That just loves what he says, no matter how racist and insensitive. They live vicariously out of his bad behavior because they want to have bad behavior themselves. But before Trump, society wouldn't let them. Like everybody else, like us, society reminds us of the shame of being an ugly person, to treat people ugly. I mean, from the end of the Civil War to 100 years later, till we finally end the Jim Crow and segregation. I mean, we're nowhere near 100% done with racist bullshit, but on an official level, yeah, that ended. It just depended upon which community decided to start acting right after it came about. But since then, people wanted to be ugly. They had to keep it on the down low. They had to, maybe they group themselves with some like-minded people. Maybe they go to Bed Bath & Beyond, buy some clothing. Maybe they do little rallies. Maybe they shave off their heads and pretend to be the people their grandfathers fought and killed in World War II. But now, you no longer need to do any of that. You no longer to be in the shadows. You no longer have to be the mushrooms that are underneath the stairs and only come out and get your heads patted during Iowa's caucus. No, now you're out and about because you have somebody who's just as ugly as you are, that you always wanted to be, without shame. Because shame was the bitch, wasn't it? You wanted to say it's so bad. You wanted to call someone the N-word. You wanted to go in stereotype and trash people and hurt people. But you couldn't, really, because, outside of your little circle of friends, you knew society wasn't going to accept it. The leaders of society wasn't going to accept it. You would be condemned. But I guess you now have an out, because now you can live vicariously through President Loudmouth on his Twitter. So it's the Democrats' race to lose. And, last few debates I have not found all that hopeful. There's some people that has come out and seem to be okay, pretty decent. But most of the time they're stumbling over trying to appease their own base. See, if Trump is only catering to his base, which is right to the right of the right, and just thinks that he's got the Republican Party so locked that he can do whatever he wants to piss off the actual Republicans and actual moderates, who are now dwindling officially, that the Democrats have to try to do it on the left and go towards the left road. Problem with that is that it defeats the same purpose, because you do have moderate Democrats, middle road Democrats who understand the concept of compromise. That compromise is the backbone of progression, because you cannot have all or nothing. We are living in this all or nothing hell for 2 years, where it's either my way or the highway, and it's always these blood baths, and and this hate, because we have to have those two polarized camps, and nothing in between to meet them in the middle. And as far as my opinion now, as the start of October 29th, or not October, as of August 29th, Joe Biden is past his prime. I know he got some nostalgia. He reminds you of the Obama years. That's great. But all he does is touts his record with Obama. He's touting backwards. We have to move forwards. We can't regress negatively. We don't want to regress negatively, but we can't also regress positively, because that doesn't work. That never works. We have to move forward, good or bad. We have to move forward, and we have to move forward over this Trump era. And so what that requires is some new thinking. Maybe it doesn't have to be like radically left that will scare the shit out of the people in the middle, but it's got to be something better than trying to revitalize Obamacare that was sabotaged from day fucking one. I know people want to just try to blame this on the Affordable Care Act on Obama, and how some features did not come out the way it says, and he lied that you can keep your doctor. Shit like that was being sabotaged from the Congress on down, from the lobbyists, from the pharmaceutical companies, from the insurance companies that did not want there to be freedom from pre-existing conditions that only exist because of Obamacare. Republicans don't have a plan. Like anything else Trump says, oh, we'll figure that out after I win. Like he's going to figure out cutting Social Security. He says it himself. That's going to be a fun little project after 2020. We're being inhumane at the border because of this administration. We are being the laughing stock of the world because of him at G7, opining for Putin to be there. And why doesn't anyone let him come back in? He does this distracting, stupid bullshit that no president in his right mind should be doing, just because he wants to distract you from the really awful things that he and his administration are trying to do under your nose while you're too busy with him saying shit. Okay, this is going a little longer than I want, but it's a rant. It's what happens. But I'm going to end this for now. You guys have a good night, or whenever you see this. I am the Ranter, and I will be back because my urge to rant is always rising. Good evening.